Hi, my name's Danny Brown, and I'm the CEO of Myriad Real Estate Group, and this is going to be our October market update. So it's kind of more of the same. Some interesting data that has come out is I've been reporting in basically all of my market update videos that the inventory in the greater Phoenix area has been hovering around 8,200 homes. We have actually increased our inventory over the last month, have gone from 8,200 homes to 9,200 homes. This isn't a product of more people all of a sudden deciding to sell. It is the same number of homes coming to market, but what's happening is that because rates popped and are staying in the mid to high sevens, buyer demand has remained extremely low. It has certainly leveled off, but because that demand came down, it's taking longer for homes to sell, which is slowly increasing our inventory, which is actually a good thing. We do want more homes to come to market. We have been in a very low inventory environment for quite a long time. So seeing a slight increase in inventory is a good thing. It's actually pushing some of the balance of power back towards buyers. And so what we're seeing is buyers having a lot more opportunity to negotiate versus sellers. So historically, this time of year, we typically see inventory kind of flatten out, demand really flatten out, and in fact, we see home values pull back a little bit. In the greater Phoenix area, we have our spring selling season, which is really kind of mid-January through June. That's when we see most of our property value gains, and then the market always historically pulls back during the holidays, and we see home values actually come down a little bit off of their highs. So don't be surprised if you start to see articles talking about home values coming down. That is historically normal, and these are going to be people just trying to grab your attention through headlines. So with inventory increasing slightly, buyer demand remaining relatively flat, what we're going to see and have seen again is some of that balance of power shift towards buyers. So we're seeing buyers getting closing cost assistance. Again, they are using that to buy their mortgage rates down. So very few buyers are actually paying market rate for their mortgages. A lot of them are getting much lower rates. They're getting negotiating the prices. They're getting repairs done from sellers. So sellers are being a little bit more willing to give buyers these credits and incentives in order to get their homes sold. So right now, interest rates on a 30-year fixed conventional loan are in the high sevens. FHA, which is a fantastic product and has really come roaring back into the market post-pandemic, that is for A-plus credit in the high sixes. That is without paying any points or buying your rate down. So as I mentioned before, sellers are willing to contribute towards your closing costs so that you can get that rate much lower. In fact, there are several unique lending programs that exist out there. Zillow Home Loans has come out with a product just for Phoenix right now. They're running as their pilot, where you can put 1% down as your down payment to try to make homes a little bit more affordable. I'm working with several lenders who have let me know that they are willing to buy a buyer's rate down a full percentage point. So let's say you're using an FHA mortgage and you're at 6.8. Some of the lenders that we're working with will buy that down, so now you're looking at something that's closer to 5.8. Then if we're able to get the seller to contribute some additional funds towards your closing costs, we can buy that rate down even more. So while we are, yes, in an affordability, I wouldn't call it crisis, but having affordability issues for homes, there are a lot of creative things that you can do on the buy side to make that monthly payment more affordable. And what we're headed into right now is, again, that winter season, that holiday season, which historically is one of the best times to be a buyer. So I talk about the best time to be a seller is that mid-January through June timeframe. Well, the best time to be a buyer is during the holiday season. You've got usually sellers that are coming to the market during the holidays are forced sellers. So they are people who are being forced to move for work. A death in the family, divorce, those types of situations are what are forcing people to list during the holidays. Most sellers that I talk to, if they're not in one of those situations, they're holding out until after the first of the year to list their home. So those are the new homes coming to market. The existing homes that are on the market may have not sold during the spring or summer season, and so they've been on the market for a little while. So historically, that's when buyers can get their best deal, is during that holiday season. Bringing it back to rates, what can we expect going forward? Well, we have all been very horrible just in the industry, economists, at predicting where mortgage rates are going to go. If you would have asked me, or if you even reference back to some of my old videos and some of my own content, I never would have guessed that we'd be where we're at today a year ago. I would have thought rates would be a lot lower. As inflation was going, I thought that rates would follow. Well, it turns out it has not as much to do with inflation, and it has more to do with the job market. So the Fed has basically come out and said that they are going to keep rates higher for longer. They may do one more rate hike towards the end of the year, but that's already baked in, so whether they do it or not, it's not really going to influence mortgage rates much. But what happens in the job market is really what's going to affect mortgage rates. So the Fed has basically two mandates. One is inflation and one is employment. And so inflation has been out of control, so that's where they've been spending all their attention and why they've been hiking rates. And the unemployment rate has remained fantastic. So jobs are still being created, everybody's working, so they've only been focused on that one item. So ultimately what we're really going to be paying attention to is the unemployment rate. So once that starts to increase and we unfortunately start to see more people unemployed, I think that that's when we'll start to see those mortgage rates come down. So I think buyers need to just get used to now this even higher rate environment that we're in. It was getting used to rates in the 6s. Well, now it's getting used to rates in the 7s. This is one of the reasons why the market isn't crashing, is because home owners, people who already own their home, feel trapped. I'm talking with my videographer right now off camera, and she just said, I'm never selling my house. That her monthly mortgage payment's at $1,200. She has a single family home in a great location. She can't rent anything for that price. So she, like a lot of homeowners, feel kind of stuck. You've got, and it's not, oh, woe is me, like I'm stuck with this kick-ass mortgage rate, low monthly payment, but you really are kind of stuck where you're at and have to be used to that for a while. So there's a lot of people who are in that situation, which is why inventory remains low, calling it golden handcuffs, or rate lock, mortgage rate lock. So these people all feel stuck and they don't want to sell out of a 2.5%, 3%, 3.5% mortgage to go into the 7s, which exponentially increases their cost of living, how much they're paying on a monthly basis for housing, not to mention the increase in gas prices and food prices and everything else. So it just doesn't make sense for most people to sell out of those low rates. The National Association of Realtors did a really large study and found that most homeowners and most buyers, their preferred rate at which they would do something is 5.5%. That tended to be the consensus across the board, and we experienced a little bit of that in February of 2023 when rates fell to 5.99. We saw a ton of people apply for mortgages and a lot of activity in the housing market. So that was fairly close to that 5.5% rate. So what a lot of economists and housing experts are afraid of is something called a rubber band effect, where demand is low right now, supply is low right now, but if those rates start to fall to 5.5% or get close to that, we're going to see this big influx of demand for housing, because it's there. I talk to people every day like, yes, I want to buy a home, I just don't want to afford these higher rates. So when those rates start to come back down, you are going to see this influx in demand, and what inevitably could potentially happen is multiple offers on homes, driving prices back up again, and making that home just that much more affordable, and maybe a repeat of what we saw during COVID, where there was very little inventory, lots of competition, so you had too much money chasing too few goods, which led to this affordability issue that we're facing now. So that's why I'm so pro, if you can afford to purchase now and look at some of these unique loan programs that are out there to make the purchase more affordable, it is a much more pleasant experience to buy now when you have 9,200 options and not a lot of competition than potentially facing a ton of competition trying to buy too few homes. So what can sellers predict as we head into the fourth quarter? Well, homes that look good and are priced right are still getting attention and still getting offers. We just listed some homes this last week. One, in fact, had multiple offers. It was 2 offers, but still had multiple offers sold in the first weekend at list price. So no concessions on that one. So there was still interest and there still are buyers in the market even at these rates. So sellers need to present a good product. It needs to be priced accurately, and they should also expect to negotiate a little bit. Definitely be prepared to offer buyer some concessions to buy their rates down to make it more affordable for them, and be prepared to also do some repairs. So make your home look as good as it possibly can and make sure that you are priced accurately, and then be prepared also for potentially longer days on market. It is not healthy for the real estate market for a home to be listed on a Thursday or Friday and be under contract by the following Monday. You typically want to see homes taking 30, 60, 90 days to sell. That is a much more healthy market. So as a seller, don't get panicky if your home hasn't sold right away. We typically don't do many price reductions until we get through that first 30 days on the market, because homes are just taking a little bit longer to sell in this environment. So my Q4 prediction is that it's going to be more of the same. We'll probably see inventory continue on this slow upward trajectory as we do every holiday season. It's not because more homes are coming to market quicker, it's just because homes take longer to sell because demand falls. So whenever demand falls, we do see a natural increase in supply, but I think it's going to be relatively minor. So I think that inventory will be relatively flat. We're already seeing demand level out. It did fall when rates got up above 7%, closer to 8%, but that has kind of leveled off. So I think that we're going to see the market just be level towards the end of the year. Very few transactions happening though. So it's not going to be the normal amount of volume that we see. It's going to be very few transactions, but relatively balanced between buyers and sellers as we limp along through the end of the year. And that is what's not normal is the amount of volume, but what is normal is the balance between buyers and sellers during the holidays. I'm still a firm believer, just in general, of buying a home when you're ready, making a move when you have a need, right? This isn't an environment where you make a move when you have a want. I need to move for work, to be closer to work. I need to be closer to family. I need more space. I need less space. If you truly have a need and you can afford the move, then it makes sense. Otherwise, hang out where you're at. It's okay to be a renter. It's much more affordable to rent than it is to buy right now. When is that going to change? I don't know. Inflation is still relatively high, so you have to figure that typically with higher inflation, as your rent renewal comes up, that your rent is probably going to increase. The trade-off with mortgages is once you're locked into that payment, it's not going to change. We are one of the very few countries, and we should feel super lucky that we have 30-year fixed mortgages. The rest of the world right now is facing housing issues and all kinds of things because they have adjustable rate mortgages. The United States doesn't have that. We have a 30-year fix. So that's really one of the things that is propping up the economy, is the strength of our housing market. So again, I'm a firm believer in owning a home. It's the greatest path to wealth in our country. And so if you can afford that monthly payment, we are getting into an environment where it is a really great environment to be a buyer in terms of negotiating and getting things from the seller. So bear that in mind, but at the end of the day, when you're ready is when you should make a move. Let me know if you have any questions. Don't forget to give this a like and subscribe, and we will see you next time.